a larger-than-life Texan who, with his success in the oil and gas industry, has epitomized what the free enterprise system in this country is all about.
Bob has been an incredible role model for his friends and his family.
And he is a candid human being who tells it like it is.
He's someone, again, who's known not just for what he accomplished, but how he accomplished it.
Well, sweetheart, how many truly great men, how many great legends do you think there really are in this country? She said sweetly, well, I don't know, dear, but just one less than you think.
The oil and gas industry has been compared to watching a submarine race because we really don't get to see who the players are. In the United States, 90% of our oil production comes from our independents, the names you might not recognize, and is run by people you may not know. Today, we take a look at a man who has worked in the field, has been in politics, is a master sailor, Robert Mosbacher.
He's fun. He walks into a room and he's real exciting. He laughs. I mean, he doesn't miss a beat.
Well, he's a very stimulating person to be around, and he's very enjoyable company, and enjoy talking with Bob and discussing various issues. And I've been so proud of his involvement in politics, in the political world.
Smart guy, was clearly a dominant presence in the room, someone that everyone looked up to, and frankly, I was in awe. I was in awe of the man. And he was someone that I had heard about, I had read about, and in my mind, he was already a legend in the business.
Bob is respected, kind, and considerate. Those were the first remarks that Rob gave me.
Bob is truly cut out of the old rock, a man whose values and work ethic remain as solid as those of anybody I have ever known. He represents the old-fashioned traits of a Texas wildcatter: perseverance, honesty, integrity.
Dad is used to being boss and was from the very beginning, and he used to be fond of saying, I may not be a very good leader, but I'm a lousy follower. What he meant by that was he's not used to working for people. I'd say the noticeable exception to that was when he went to work for a man for whom he has the utmost respect, George Herbert Walker Bush, and he was a member of his cabinet.
I serve on a lot of boards, and it's one thing to serve on the board and follow somebody else's leadership. When you're given the gavel, it is a serious responsibility, and one that he has excelled at in all capacities in business, in government, and philanthropy.
He's on top of everything. He's hands-on. He's a good leader. He's been in the business for 50 years or more, and he's a natural.
He has a wonderful sense of humor, as you know. Loves to laugh, loves to smile. He's a real practical joker, too.
President and James Baker have probably been the beneficiary of some of that humor, as have the grandkids. I understand cakes and pies are one of his favorite tricks.
We used to have birthday cakes and pies for the different people, and he would tell somebody, oh, I think this pie is still warm, and they'd put their hand on top of it, and he'd mash their hand down into the top of the pie that you were fixing to serve to all these people that had come in for the birthday.
He kind of has that sort of fun, sort of flip kind of sense of humor at times, and he loves to kid or tease.
Are you still running? You turkey. You can scratch that part.
And he is not a good loser. I've always said that you show me a good loser and I'll show you a real loser. But Bob likes to win. That's the spirit of competition.
And while I'm on that, Bob is competitive, having won 2 world championships in the Olympic-class sailboat and 3 national championships. He has certainly distinguished himself as a world-class competitor. Bob is internationally famous. Of course, he received the Aztec Eagle Award, which is the Mexico's highest honor, and he has been hunting with King Juan Carlos of Spain. I hear, Bob, that it's a lot less dangerous than hunting with Dick Cheney.
One day we were playing, we had a threesome over at the River Oaks Country Club. I think his son was also in the threesome. Robbie was in the threesome. And Bob showed up out there to sort of be, I think it's going to be a gallery for our little contest. He was in his house slippers. And we said, come on, Bob, and play. And well, I don't have my golf shoes, but I said, come on. So he played in his house slippers and played so well, he beat us all.
That ever-present, wonderful smile of Bob's is infectious. So is his enthusiasm for life. His energy remains hard to match. And perhaps more than anything else, his confidence is as solid as Texas granite.
You know, Bob Mosbacher is an inspiration to all of us with his life story. He was born in comfortable circumstances in Westchester County, New York, but at a particular point walked away from all that and went to the dry, dusty, hard-scrabble oil fields of West Texas to make his way in the industry.
Not having any business or background in the energy business, moving down from the East Coast to Houston at that time is quite a courageous act. And not only did he have success, but he's an all-American wildcatter. As far as I'm concerned, he's all-world.
When I came down, I was 21 years old, just out of school, just gotten married, and, wild-eyed. I'd gone to Dallas first, actually. But we moved to Houston and loved it, because Houston is such an open city. You know, it greets everybody, whether you're from New York or Europe or South America.
You know, Bob once said he was attracted to the oil business by the wildcatter mentality, the excitement, the hard work, the luck, and innovative thinking.
Well, my father had bought some royalties, and he said, it is so great. You don't have to worry about all the problems of drilling wells. You get your interest free. You don't even need an organization. And he was right, of course. So I spent the first 3 years or so doing that, but I got hooked on the idea of putting together deals and drilling wells myself.
Bob learned fast, and in just a couple of years started his own company, which, as you know, has grown and prospered and weathered all the ups and downs of the oil and gas business. And as Corby said, not everyone can say that. But the fact is, this success was a direct result of the personal and professional attributes that Bob brings to the business.
Your word is your bond is the motto of the All-American Wildcatters. Bob chaired that so long ago, I don't think I was even in the oil business when, by the time he had received that distinction.
He's built a solid reputation of being a man of his word, for doing what he says he will do, and a man for whom a handshake meant that he was committed and he expected the same of you.
In those days, you made a deal with somebody, sitting down with them, shaking hands, and your word was your bond. That's still to some degree true, thank God. But as it becomes more impersonal, it becomes more and more difficult.
You know, I think for the wildcatters like Bob, this business was one of relationships.
Not only did he build a very successful oil and gas company, he's also played a significant part in making his hometown one of America's great cities.
You're watching Energy Legends, a production of World Energy Television. And today, we're taking a close look at Robert A. Mosbacher, Chairman and CEO of Mosbacher Energy. Welcome back to World Energy Television's Energy Legends series, and we're profiling Robert A. Mosbacher, Chairman and CEO of Mosbacher Energy and Secretary of Commerce under George Bush. Robert Mosbacher always understood that this industry is about the art of the deal, Let's hear from his son, Rob Mosbacher.
Dad has always been very competitive, and I think that helps give him a bit of an edge in the business world that others don't have, where it's not just he's trying to out-trade you. I think he understands and believes that, if you feel the deal is so one-sidedly favoring you, it's probably not going to end up being a good relationship. But he doesn't mind trading to get whatever advantage he can, as long as the other side, goes away feeling like they got a fair deal.
Bob is also known as a tough but fair trader and negotiator. His goal was never to take advantage of the other party, but rather to work to mutual advantage and create long-term value in relationships.
And he is a candid human being who tells it like it is. If he's for you 100%. You can count on that. But if he's against you, well, that's not a happy circumstance. And that's why we call him Sweet Old Bob. S.O.B.
You've already heard about S.O.B., our sweet old Bob, but he is also known as the Velvet Hammer, which there are times in this business that calls for that trait.
He also has an uncanny ability to see developing trends and changes in the industry and proactively adapt to them. He foresaw the price bust in the early 1980s, and he avoided taking on lots of debt and really then positioned his company well in advance of the downturn.
As I talked to the guys with the big companies, they didn't overtly say, price oil's got to go way down. What they did say is, we've got so much more supply than we have demand. And that's immutable law, supply and demand. When you got more supply than demand, it'll get down. But now, long term, we're going to have more demand than supply. And even though it's low now, by recent standards, whether it's 2 to 3 months or 2 to 3 years, it's going to go back up.
But, he is first and foremost a great trader. He kind of grasps the basic economics of the deal immediately, and he sort of knows what position he wants to take and what position we should take in terms of trying to make a deal.
Transco was looking at building a pipeline that ran gas pipeline through one of Bob's fields. And Bob and Jack, I think, had a long, protracted, difficult negotiation about the price that Bob would sell his gas to Transco for. And the price, as I understand it, that Transco was offering was 2 cents per MCF. And Bob wanted that premium price of 2.5 cents, or certainly a higher price. And he got about as far as he could with Jack, and finally went on to Dallas and got to the big guy, the guy who could actually make the decision, Clint Murchison.
I said, Mr. Murchison, everybody tells me that it's worth a minimum of 3 cents. And he had these little kind of squinty eyes, kind of a friendly little gentleman. And he said, well, Bobby, it probably is, but my guys think I'm crazy to buy it because we've got an offset lease that they want to just drill in and drain it. So I learned the oil business right there.
Yes, he took risk, and he had great success. He drilled his share of dry holes, but he had certainly a greater share of successes.
Well, my first deal was a dry hole in Duval County, Texas. And that time there was a guy who ran Duval County called the Duke of Duval. And if you didn't take care of him, you didn't do much business in Duval County. And that was a pretty rude awakening. We drilled a well that we thought was going to cost about $3 million. And as these things will happen, it ended up costing $12 million. We had a field up near Dime Box, Texas. And for a little while, it was one lease, I think it was 800-acre lease. We had 4 wells that together produced 4,000 barrels a day.
And by the way, he was paying his bills, he was keeping the business going and not walking away from deals and agreements that had been agreed to in good times. And I think that's the mark of not just a successful Wildcatter, but a good business person as well.
A couple of very exciting deals were not oil and gas, they were real estate. For instance, selling Cinco Ranch, which was something that took place at a great time.
But strangely enough, the biggest deal we did was in the real estate business. It was Cinco Ranch, which I bought from Mr. Fishback Wheelers, and he owned it with Mr. Abercrombie. But when I bought it, we could go out there and duck hunt. There wasn't anything in the area. It was pretty good duck hunting, too.
Well, the truth is, and I don't believe that Dad would argue with this at all, the best deals that we've ever done in our company were deals we didn't do. In other words, they were deals that as we looked carefully at exactly what the trade was and what we were going to have to give up, and what the cost was going to be, and we ultimately didn't end up doing them. And then afterwards, maybe 6 months or a year later, we look at each other and say, "God, thank God I didn't do that deal."
We almost drilled some and would have been a nice little field that Bob Allison's company developed, Anadarko, but we decided not to. And then we almost went into the Delta stuff, but it was all gas.
Robert Mosbacher, Chairman and CEO of Mosbacher Energy, master at the deal, and political leader. Let's look at Bob's political career.
Well, very proud moments for my family overall would be, of course, Dad joining the Bush cabinet.
As my wonderful Secretary of Commerce, one of his many achievements was his pivotal role in negotiating the North American Free Trade Agreement.
That great success, which has done so much to stimulate not only the American economy but that of our two neighbors, is very much the handiwork and the legacy of Bob Mosbacher as Secretary of Commerce.
It passed the Congress with more Republican votes than Democratic votes, even though Clinton, the president, was requesting the Democrats vote for it. But it passed and became the law. And it's been a very good thing for both countries, for all three countries, Canada, U.S., and Mexico.
America needed to trade its way out of economic doldrums and distress and became a vigorous advocate for opening up trade with certain trading partners that had proved difficult, such as Japan.
The Japanese were tough. And they'd say, oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, we will do that. And they never would. So we finally had to talk about it and did cut off some of their imports to inspect theirs. Finally got their attention.
Bob Mosbacher, leader of energy, a man of vision, found his first challenge as Secretary of Commerce in dealing with the problem of the Kemp's Ridley turtle in the Gulf of Mexico. There was a controversy over whether shrimpers' nets were catching the turtles and killing off the turtle population. Bob Mosbacher courageously stepped into that with what was known as TEDs, turtle exclusion devices, which were part of the nets that enabled the turtles to thrive and the shrimpers to shrimp, and yet again, a sign of his great vision and leadership in other ways.
One of the things Bob has really distinguished himself for is a record of service to his country, certainly as Secretary of Commerce, but to our community. And one that's especially dear to me is Bob was twice chairman of the Board of Visitors at MD Anderson Cancer Center.
And even participated in the initial fundraiser for this Texas Heart Institute. He and the late Ben Love really were the head of the program, our first fundraiser, and they were highly successful in that. They took a lot of effort on their part to raise some of the initial funds which have perpetuated our Texas Heart Institute. So I've always been indebted to Bob for that involvement.
So he got involved, very involved in a charter school in Galveston called the Odyssey Academy. And I think, frankly, part of the reason why he might have been open to that was because, he saw that there was great reward in actually, spending time on one institution that's affecting lives one by one, rather than always sort of being at the mega level where you're helping raise money, but you don't really see how that money translates into saving lives.
As a result of personal traits that are stronger than the breath on a mountain mule, Bob is a great Houstonian who has taken part in effort after effort to make his city world class.
He's someone who has helped make this city what it is today. One of, maybe perhaps not one of our founding fathers, but someone who has made this city better by virtue of his leadership and having been here. He represents this city and the state extremely well. He's someone, again, who's known not just for what he accomplished, but how he accomplished it.
These accomplishments, and there are many more, all reflect his extraordinary values and qualities of character that have earned him the respect and loyalty of so many friends around the world.
Welcome back. World Energy is looking at the man, Robert Mosbacher, Chairman and CEO of Mosbacher Energy, Secretary of State under George Bush I, and Master Sailor.
The competitive spirit that he has, that came out of first sailing as a child, and then wrestling in high school, and then continuing to sail in a competitive environment for all his life. That kind of spirit of competition, I think, has been a huge advantage to him in the rest of his life.
But it is not too trivial to say that, because Bob Mosbacher is a man of the sea, a man who's sometimes referred to as an amateur or hobbyist sailor, but you can never just be casual about sailing, particularly the way Bob Mosbacher does. And it is true in ancient times as well as in our time that the individual who can face down the sea can face pretty much anything that the world has to throw at him. So it is more than just a hobby. It is the very symbol of Bob Mosbacher's life.
Well, sailing is my life. It's my love. And I probably, if I could have made a living at it, probably would have quit all the others and become just a sailor. But I love it. I love the competition. I've been involved in it all over the world. I've been lucky enough to win a few of the world championships, and now I just love getting out and sailing.
In the 1959 Sports Illustrated, he was in the May edition. He was cover boy for his sailing exploits. Now, this is before they invented the swimsuit edition, so he wasn't dressed in swimsuits.
But most importantly to me, Bob's been a close friend and business partner who I repeatedly count on for thoughtful advice on everything from politics to drilling for oil and gas. Bob and I have known one another for more years than either of us would like to admit. We cemented our friendship almost 4 decades ago when both of us lost our first wives to cancer.
My first wife died much too young, which, if anything, very, very sad, but brought my children and me even closer together. So that's the most important achievement in my life.
Wonderful father, as in, always supported us no matter what, stern, and, would get upset with us at times, but we never doubted whether he loved us or whether or not he would support us no matter what.
And now I've got a wonderful wife who I love, and she keeps saying she loves me, and I believe her.
How many kids do you have?
I have 4 kids, 6 grandkids, and 3 stepsons, and 3 grand stepchildren.
What's most important is that Mr. Mosbacher cares about each and every one of us. I mean, he loves his family. We all love our family. But he truly cares about us. And you know that. I mean, you feel that. And I think that's very important. And he not only cares about you, he cares about your family.
The bottom line for me is Bob Moss Becker is a true patriot, a great American who has made invaluable contributions to our city, our state, and our nation.
Bob's life is a special tribute to his father, Pop, who rose from shining shoes to great business success, who taught Bob the golden rule, and who cherished the fact that great fortune was not a privilege, but a gift. Bob, your success and service are admired by everyone that know you. Your Pop raised a remarkable man, and the best qualities of true character rest with you. You have honored him and are passing your values along to the future generations that follow you. May God bless you as you have blessed America.
Robert Mosbacher, man of the community, chairman of Mosbacher Energy, master sailor, and above all else, wildcatter. Thank you very much for watching.
Don't you know I'm just a typical oil man? We talk all day about the deals we made that made big discoveries, big money. We don't talk about all the dry holes. I've had plenty of those too.